So, this morning, what I wanted to talk to you about has to do with this church. And I know that when you showed up this morning, there might be a bunch of people that are, maybe this is your first time. And honestly, if this is your first time here at Canyon Church, I want you to know that we've actually been praying for you. We've evaluated these services, we planned these with you in mind. And so you showed up this morning to a service that was already planned on your behalf. But when you stepped into the building, you probably had some thoughts about this word, what it was you were showing up to, what was it maybe somebody invited you to. I think if you took a poll around the country about what this word means, that you might have a wide variety of thoughts. One, that maybe it's boring, that maybe it's difficult, it's challenging, that maybe it is not what you expect when you show up. It's not a safe place for some people. That maybe it's dangerous, that maybe it is something that you don't necessarily feel comfortable with. Maybe it's something that you have in your back of your mind and you're like, I've been around those people before and I'm just not sure about it. It's a big step for you to show up today. And I understand that and I get that. Rich, can I have you switch the slides so that my confidence monitors? Thank you. So I understand that there's this tension about showing up to church, but I want you to know something about us. Our mentality is that we understood from the get-go that our community didn't need another church. Our community needed an opportunity to change the way that they view church. Even though there's all those thoughts about what might be and what might happen and all of that, you understand and we understand it's still not there, Rich. I'm speaking off the cuff here. We didn't create a church, though, to just be one of another. And I love the churches in this community. I love the churches in our valley. I love that we actually have a bunch of churches because I believe that if you don't feel comfortable somewhere, you'll find somewhere to be home for you. There's enough of those. But what I do believe is that when we talk about the Big C Church, that the Big C Church has failed our community, has failed our world, to be honest with you. Hold on just a second. We're going to pause for a second. Anybody have any jokes out here in the audience? I just got to scroll to it. Okay, there we go. This will work at some point. So, I'm in the dark. Dancing in multiple ways. That's multiple levels. I'm in the dark here. That's fine. In our community, I'm just going to keep rolling because I don't want you to be here until noon today. My wife told me if we went until noon that she's walking out and leaving. So, try to get done before that. In our community, in our valley, we have around 65,000 people surrounding area. It's a lot bigger than we realize. There's a lot of folks that call the LC Valley their home. Of that 65,000, there's well over 40,000 people in our community that would say that they have no affiliation to church whatsoever. That they don't go to church, they don't attend church. If you had a conversation with them, they may say that they feel like they're far from God. That's something. They may feel like they're far from God. They may feel like they don't know if God exists. They're wrestling with the faith thing, or maybe they're avoiding the wrestle with the faith thing. They may be all over on the map there. But what we know is that they're not part of a church, not because there's not churches available. Right? There's churches around. There's churches available. Especially, you hit Diagonal. They're all over the place, right? Every direction that you turn, they're there. What we know is that, what I said earlier, we didn't need another church in our community. We needed a church. We needed an opportunity to change the way that our community views church as a whole. Recently, I overheard a conversation where people were talking about an open space that they saw, and there's some construction going on, and they were debating what was going to go in there, which is one of my favorite debates in this valley because it's always the same conversation. It's going to be another storage unit. It's going to be another bank. Mattress store. We need another mattress store for some reason, right? And they're just going through, rattling off all the things. I'm like, yeah. And then someone said, Oh, it's probably going to be another church. And to be honest with you, it hurt my heart in that moment because their mentality, and I didn't have animosity towards that person, but the thought process that is so prevalent with so many people in our community is it's just another one of those, and they're all the same, and they do the same thing, and it's not what they need, or not what they want. It's what they need, but they don't realize it, right? It's this stereotype that people have about church as a whole. Now, Rich got it. Thank you, Rich. Everybody, round of applause. Oh, this is not a lean on. Thank you, Keith. We have incredible volunteers, you guys. They're just taking care of me. So we've stopped, here's the problem. We've stopped over time, over generations, the first century church till today, we've stopped treating people the way that Jesus treated people. Like, and I'm not saying about you, I'm saying about Big C Church, the stereotype. We've stopped valuing people the same way that Jesus did. Right? People now know way more about what the church is against rather than what the church is for. The first century church, when I first started talking about what church means, and people immediately think of like, well, it's going to be boring, it's going to be judgmental, they're fake, or whatever it might be. Those are ideas that our population has today. The original church, those were the furthest thoughts from their mind when they talked about what this group of people, this ecclesia of people that was getting together, because it wasn't what they were doing. These initial people, when they watched and witnessed how Jesus treated people, and they watched the effect that had, what they saw is that people who were nothing like Jesus liked Jesus, and he liked them back. Today, people that are nothing like Jesus don't like the church. And if I'm honest, the example that we've given them, the evidence that we've given them, is that the church doesn't like them back. And that stings for me to say out loud in church. Now, before they liked Jesus, they knew that he was for them. That's why. They understood that here is this rabbi, here is this teacher that was different than anything else they'd experienced. But it wasn't just about what he taught, it was how he treated them, how he interacted with them, that he cared for them regardless of what they'd done, of who they were, of where they came from. And there is very, very strong evidence through history that in humanity, that what happens is we always gravitate towards those that are for us. That when you know that this person, I might not agree with everything, but I'm not sure, I'm still evaluating, I'm still wrestling with, but this person is for me, this person is in support of me, this person wants me to succeed, this person wants something on my behalf. When we know that, we are drawn to that, which is why crowds followed Jesus everywhere. To illustrate this picture, this idea, this mentality, we're going to look back to the book of Matthew. Now, if you don't know, Matthew is the first book of the New Testament. So Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the Gospels. Those 4 books document the life and ministry of Jesus. So they walked around, it's all about the eyewitnesses and their accounts. Matthew was one of those eyewitnesses. So we're going to look at this eyewitness accounts of Jesus' life and ministry in this specific moment that we're going to look at. Now, Matthew, one of my friends actually, he claims that Matthew means strikingly handsome and intelligent one. Can you guess what his name is? And there's some evidence, right? There's like Matthew McConaughey, Matt Damon, come on. But let's not lie in church. That's not what it means. What it actually means is gift of God, which is, honestly, it might be worse. Yeah, the heads just keep on growing if your name is Matthew. But here's the thing about Matthew. The original Matthew that wrote the gospel, he wasn't looked at by his own peers as a gift of God. See, Matthew was a tax collector. And if you know anything about the context of tax collectors, we talk about this every once in a while, there's levels of like people and how they were perceived at the time. You had like the priest way up top, and the good Jews that followed along and did everything they're supposed to, and kind of work your way down the totem pole. And towards the bottom, you have the sinners. And then there's a whole other basement floor that is like the scum on the shoe of sinners, and that is the tax collectors. So they're like the lowest of the low. And the reason why is because they were professional and protected thieves from their own people. So they were working on behalf of Rome to collect taxes from their own people, the Jewish people. So they were hated, despised by their own. And the moment that we're going to look at, Matthew records the moment that Jesus invited him to join his merry band of followers, to join the crew. Jesus invites this tax collector. So Jesus is walking around town. He's got Peter and Andrew and James and John and the rest of them that are kind of, making their way through. And they come up to this tax collecting booth. And that's where we're going to pick up Matthew chapter 9, verse 9. As Jesus went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me," he told him. And Matthew got up and followed him. It's that simple. I mean, it's just straightforward, right? He just walks along, sees him, like, okay, I guess I'm going there now. Follow me. This verbiage, though, is more than what we understand and comprehend. That's the same verbiage that rabbis used to call and create disciples and bring these students in to become their own disciples. So if you were a good Jewish boy and you went to school and you did really well at the different levels of school, at the end of that season of schooling, if you were good enough, the rabbi would actually say, "I think you can be one of my followers. I think you can be one of my disciples. Come and follow me. Take on my yoke. Take on my teaching. Take on my understanding of the scriptures, of Bible, of the world itself. I think you can do what I do." So when Jesus is saying this, it's not like, hey, get in line, just join the rest of the guys. This is a formal invitation to actually become his disciple. Now, I like to think, like when we're parenting, that we all see the same thing in our kids, that there's certain potential. We're like, wow, you got something there, and I'm not sure which way you're going to go with it. Like we pray really hard for our kids to use their powers for good and not evil, right? And you see it, you're like, that could go on either way, either side of the fence, that plays. We just hope you choose to use your powers for good. Matthew was one of those that if you were growing up, your parents would not want you to spend time with him. They're like, I don't trust that kid. He's always out for himself. He's always kind of manipulating. He's trying to get you to do the things that he wants you to do rather than what you should be doing. He's not to be trusted. That was Matthew growing up. That's why this fit for him. Jesus invites and is for the very person that so many others were against. So in this story of Matthew getting invited to follow Jesus and to join and become one of his disciples, the story doesn't end there. That's just the beginning of Matthew's story. So Matthew, that evening, he decides he's going to throw this big party, right? This is a big deal. He's actually been invited to be a disciple. He's excited about this. So he throws this party at his house, dinner party. And who does he invite? His friends, right? But his friends are not good, upstanding citizens. They're not the best of the best. Because the regular Jews don't like tax collectors. So his friends were sinners and other tax collectors. They were of ill repute, right? So in verse 10, while Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and his disciples. For us, that doesn't seem like a big deal. It's like, yeah, so you had some shady friends. That's fine, whatever. But for them in this context and understanding, that would have been beyond just something that's uncomfortable. That would have been crossing the line in the sand. Right? There's this oral Torah. There's these expectations, these rules that go along with the temple system that was in place. And when it came down to that mentality, you were not to. If you were a good Jewish, man or woman, you were not to rub elbows with sinners. Like knowingly spend time with them, especially don't eat with them. Because the end result, along the way, you're going to make yourself impure and unclean. You're going to have to go to the temple. You're going to have to do all kinds of stuff in order to be, called righteous and fix all those problems that you just stepped into. Clean all that grossness from the common folk off of you. So this is a big deal. It's not just a dinner party. It's something more than that. So when the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" And again, this is not out of like, "Oh, I'm really curious about that. I'd like to know more." No, this was purely out of condemnation and judgment. Why in the world would your rabbi do this? The Pharisees, if you don't know, they were the teachers of the law. These were the men that spent their entire life studying the rules that were set before them. And they did this so that they could make sure that everybody else followed the way, that everybody else followed the rules along, stayed within the lines. So this was a defining moment for Jesus. Early on in his ministry, which way is he going to go? Right, the Pharisees, the original mean girls, is he going to go along with that, the typical, everybody just assumes that's what you're going to do, or is he going to set a new path, a new direction, and still hang out with the outcasts? The beautiful thing is that Jesus doesn't hesitate in this moment. He actually adds words to his actions that he's already walked in. On hearing this, Jesus said, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick." To which the other tax collectors and sinners that were there like, "Hold on, what did he call us?" And then some guy's like, yeah, we're pretty sick. I get it. That's actually acceptable. Yep, we earned that one. Notice in this illustration, kind of the example, just the verbiage that Jesus is using. None of us are the doctors. We're all sick because we're all sinners. The Pharisees didn't get that. They didn't think that they were sinners. They didn't think that they were sick. They thought that in this moment that Jesus was like, "Well, you're not invited and not included." Jesus was actually saying, all of us, everyone here, all of you, not him, but everyone here, we're sinners. We all need something more. We need some help. So Jesus, and I love this because it's just, you ever get in one of those arguments and you get the right zinger? It's just like, it's the right words to just stick it to him. This is the moment for Jesus. He says, "But go and learn what this means." So these are men, remember, these are men that have spent their entire life to study the scriptures, to study the law. And Jesus, this kind of rabbi from nowhere, shows up and he's like, "Hey, you guys need to study a little bit harder. You need to learn a little bit more about your own scriptures that you're trying so hard to understand." He says, "Go and learn what this means." This is a quote from their own scriptures. "I desire mercy, not sacrifice. For I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners." You see, there's a difference between mercy and sacrifice. The temple system that was in place at this time has been a system that had been in place for a long time. And it was a process for people to be made right. But over time, to be made right with God. But over time, as laws were added, as expectations were added, it became something that you could simply do yourself in order to earn your right standing. So it's like, yeah, I messed up. I'm just going to go grab a couple goats or some doves or whatever it cost me. Just do the thing I've got to do. Do the religious steps. Like, yeah, it's a 3-step process. Done it before, did it last week, probably going to do it next week. It just to make sure that I feel good about myself for a little bit. Like, I'll take care of it myself. But that's not what Jesus was talking about. He says, "I desire mercy." Now, mercy is something that you can't earn from someone, because then it becomes not mercy any longer. Mercy is a gift that is only given, not earned. And this is what Jesus is saying. I showed up in order to give what cannot be earned. He's not worried about, making a name for himself. He's not worrying about making sure that he's elevated above everybody else. He's not in it to play the cool kids game. He's not there for that. He's not trying to find a seat at the popular kids table. This is what Jesus was saying. I came to offer everyone a seat at my table. I came for those that feel far from God, that don't even consider God because they feel like they're too far gone. Because they've lost the game, and knowingly, because you've already told them, they've lost the game that you guys are playing. But that's not the game that I'm playing. I'm not playing a game. You know, Jesus could have used this moment, be like, oh, you guys are right. Let me just walk down the line at the table and tell everyone what their sins are and what they owe and what they need to do at the temple. That's not what Jesus did, though. He did something different. He was not trying to elevate his own position. His position was already secure. Son of God, part of the Trinity, like he's good, right? He was doing what was most effective to draw as many people in, to help them come in and take a step towards him, towards God. Jesus would have said, not only am I going to attend their party, I'm eventually going to march to my own death to pay for their sins, the very sins that you ostracize them for, the very sins that you isolate them for. I'm going to pay those debts for them. And you know what? At the end of the day, they will respond not to your judgment, but to my love, my sacrifice. And just a heads up, it doesn't end in my death. I'm going to resurrect 3 days later to punctuate the claims that I am the Son of God. I am the Messiah. I am God's final king. Because I want them to know who it is that they are placing, that you are placing your trust in, your faith in. I am for you, whether you realize that or not. For too long, the church has been known what it is against. By those around, it is very clear. The church is against anybody that is not like them. Today, we're making a shift. At Canyons Church, we've been working so hard to shift that and change that narrative. Because Jesus was known by what he was for. The rallying cry at Canyon Church has been for LCV. Because we believe that God is for you. God, we want our community to know this. That God is for you, and so are we. He led the way. This was his example. This was his value. He continues to do this today. He is for you. Meaning he is for your success. He is for your health. He is for your peace. He is for your joy. He wants you in this life to be able to have a good life, a healthy life, a full life. So we want to create a church that loves our community so well that our community loves to be a part of, that our community loves to belong to, that our community is willing to take steps in even if they don't believe yet. While they're still asking questions about the faith thing and all of that, we want our community to know that this is a place that they can show up and engage with at that deeper level. That we want to love other people so well that they are drawn to Jesus before they even recognize that it is his reflection that they are drawn to. And then over time, we get to fill in that gap. We get to tell them, it's Jesus. I'm not this way just because I'm a good person. I'm trying to do my best to follow Jesus, and that has created this direction in my life. That our church isn't about obeying the laws. Now, let me clarify that for a second. You can snip that and put that online, and I'll get in real big trouble. Our church isn't about the rules, making sure that you stay within the lines. It's about following a king that sacrificed everything on our behalf. That we would be a people, we'd be a group of people, and ecclesia is what we call it. We would be a group of people that would turn the other cheek, that go the extra mile, take the shirt off our back, because that's what Jesus showed us. And that's what he's done for us already. Jesus elevated the laws. I know so often we think, oh, the laws are so concrete. We like the laws because we know if we're in or we're out or if we're obeying or not obeying. Here's the thing about laws. I said this last week. Laws are kind of easy to try to, circumnavigate, kind of go around, find the gray area. Our kids do this all the time. Well, what's the rules? How can I bend them? We do this too. Jesus elevated the rules, the laws at the time. The 10 Commandments, like do not murder. He's like, no. It's not just about don't murder. It's don't have hatred in your heart. It's not just don't commit adultery. It's don't even lust. Don't even have that thought. Now, let's be honest, with the new standard that Jesus was introducing, nobody could do that. None of us. No one. He was introducing a standard that we all fail. And that's kind of the point. Because all of us do fail. All of us are sinners. All of us do need a Savior. So this love that he was talking about is not soft, it's not easy, it's elevated. It's even more difficult. Jesus wasn't inviting us to stay within the lines. He was inviting us to move in a new direction that it's not even by the lines. It's not how close can I get to that. It's, no, I'm moving in this direction. If I'm moving in this direction, it's not even an option. There's not even a thought of how close can I get to that and have it not be sin. Now I get it. In this room and in every single room around the world, there are people in every single room that have had a bad church experience. Because you spent some time with some people that have given you a poor example of what Jesus is actually like. They've gone to church proudly, loudly gone to church, proclaimed that they're Christians, and then treated you like dirt. They've been hurtful and painful for you. And I understand so many people, when you witness that, when you experience that on your own, the immediate thought is, if that's what being a Christian is like, I'm out. Like, I'm still wrestling through the whole God thing, but if that's the example, if that's what it means, that's not who I want to be. You've had people screaming about the rules instead of following Jesus and extending love. And I get it. It's hard. First of all, if that's you, thank you for being here and showing up today. Secondly, on behalf of Christianity, I'm sorry. Hopefully it wasn't from me, hopefully it wasn't from us, but we understand that we're broken people and we hurt other people sometimes. And I'm so glad that you're here today to be able to hear that it's not about us being perfect, but following after a perfect king that inspires us to take steps after him. That you'd want, before you believe, and I get this, that it's hard, but before you believe, that you would actually want it to be true. Does that make sense? That you're wrestling with these steps, and you're like, I don't even know. It's a big leap of faith. A guy died on the cross, and they say he rose again, and that's to believe in a miracle is a big deal. And to believe that that miracle has eternity resting on his shoulders, that's a big deal. That's a big step of faith. I get that, but we would want it to be true before we even believe that it is. And you would want it to be true because you see what following Jesus looks like, and it makes your life better. It makes your kids' life better. That you are cared for here. That we care about you beyond just an attendance number or a dollar bill. That your kids are being cared for in Upstreet or in Wombaland right now. And it's not just, here, let me give you something to do while your parents are actually experiencing church. We're actually engaging with your children in those rooms at a heart level. We're trying to make it fun and engaging, but then also we're going to teach them that God knows them, that God loves them, that God created them, that God is for them, that Jesus wants to be in their life, that they have an opportunity to choose to follow Jesus, to choose him to be the king of their life. That we want our students at Inside Out to be able to develop a faith of their own, not just because my mom and dad went to church, not just because it seems like a good thing to do, but because I truly am developing my own faith. Now, you might not believe everything that's said every single week, and that's fine. We have plenty of margin for that. But you also know that in here, every single week, every single conversation that we have is going to end with a very practical call to a next step. A step that's going to lead you closer to Jesus, that's going to move you in the direction that he showed us to move into. that you're going to be challenged and encouraged to take that step, that you're going to be inspired to follow Jesus, the way that he treated people, the way that he walked his life out by loving and serving other people. So, Canyons Church is taking a step forward. There's been many iterations of our church. I remember the very first of official Canyons Church. We'd actually been part of another church prior to that, and there's a bunch of transitions and things that happened before then. But our very first service as Canyons Church was May 6, 2012. I know that because May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, we had tacos as we did a practice run. So, super fun. And that was at the high school, CHS. We had to load in and load out, and that was not, I love, portable church is not necessarily easy, but there's some great portable churches, and that's a great avenue sometimes to fit a need. That was a challenge. That season was hard, and if you were here at that time, it was a lot of work. It was super fun. It was new. It was exciting, but it was a lot of work as well. And shortly thereafter, about a year and a half later, we eventually moved into this building, and it was like almost an escape. It was like, we don't have to set up every Sunday. This is amazing. And over time, we realized that through all of the transitions that we'd been through, that this building became home. When I became lead pastor, I wasn't lead pastor at the time, but when I became the lead pastor, I was the third lead pastor. We were in our fourth location. We left a denomination. We joined a new network. We'd done so many things, so many different transitions along the way. And there's a group of people, there's a core group of people, and a lot of you still in here today and with us today walked through that season, all of those seasons with us. You continue to carry the mission forward through every single iteration. And I want to say thank you, but thank you is not enough. It doesn't express the gratitude that I feel to be able to carry that mission forward. But thank you. This building has been a good place for us. We love it. Also, there's some specific challenges when it comes to it. One of my favorites is the bathroom challenge. Every single week, I can tell through that door which kids are going to the bathroom. Not which ones, but I can tell that there's a group of kids going to the bathroom, drinking water, whatever they're doing. It's a side conversation I'm privy to listen to while I'm talking. There's only one bathroom here. I mean, what in the world? They have to go outside to go back inside. It's not ideal. I know that there's a size challenge, to our church, and when it's a full Sunday, it's real full. And I love that, and it feels good. But I also understand that when it's full, when you don't have the elbow room that you appreciate and like, that there's folks that don't appreciate that so much that they just will stop showing up. That they won't come back because it's too uncomfortable. We need more space. The parking lot gets full. I get it. I understand. There's all kinds of challenges. Now, we have for a long time, our board has been discussing how do we navigate some of these tensions? What do we do? And I love the higher attendance, but like I said, it provides its own set of challenges. We went to 2 services before, right before COVID, so great timing on that. We're not even talking about that. We've actually averaged over the last year, we've averaged higher attendance than the year that we went to 2 services with. The reason why we didn't go to 2 services this time is because of our volunteers. I love and care for our volunteers. I was a volunteer for a long time before I even got hired, so I understand that burden, that toll that it takes. And so I don't want to burn out our volunteers because our volunteers make this church what it is. So there's some challenges that we're up against. And what we've discussed as a board and what we've landed on is we need a new location. And we've been trying to, over the past year, be in communication talks with a couple different spots, a couple different places of what that might look like and how we can navigate through that into those next steps. And unfortunately, right now, I'm not here this morning to be able to tell you, and we have our spot. I would love to do that. In fact, to be honest, I've been waiting as these kind of conversations have been developing for that moment to be able to tell you, but that moment has not happened yet. Conversation's still going. They're still happening, but nothing concrete yet. But I want you to know we are moving to a new location. We don't know where or when. It's going to be in the LC Valley. We do know that. But we're moving on purpose because we want to move somewhere where there's margin for us today that fits us better now, as well as what God is doing in the growth that will be happening and coming. We want the LC Valley to know that any Sunday, any moment that they need, that there is a seat available for them at Canyons Church. We're taking these steps with the next generation in mind. This is on my heart. This is on my mind all the time. We've got to do more and got to do enough with the next generations to make sure that this movement continues forward. Your kids are going to be the ones that carry this forward in their life and their generation. And we need to give them the tools, give them the understanding, and help anchor that relationship, that faith, that regardless of what they face, that they will have the faith with them to go along with. Now, I get it. I understand change can be hard. Some of us love change. It's like, oh, variety, I like that. For a lot of folks, change can be incredibly difficult and hard. It is new. It is unknown. It is different. We like what we know, what we're comfortable with. And if that's you, I want to encourage you with something, and I kind of say this periodically, but every transition is an opportunity for growth. And I'm not talking about just the numbers part of it, although that's true too, but I'm more talking about your opportunity for your relationship with God to grow. Your faith journey has an opportunity in this moment, in this transition, to be able to develop, to be able to take a chance, to take a step and participate on a greater level than maybe you have been. To be able to come alongside even more so with what God is doing in and through Canyons Church and our community. I love the moments in life where we step forward beyond where we can touch. Like there's this level of, but if I step there, I don't know how to do that or how that's going to feel. If I actually decide to start helping and serving in our family ministries, and I've never taught a class before, what's that going to be like? Am I going to be over my head? 100%. You will be over your head. And that's exactly where God wants you. Because in those moments, that is exactly when you realize that God is with you and He will not abandon you. That He will provide what you need. That He is trustworthy, even when you can't touch the bottom any longer. Now, there's a couple questions that I'm sure have been rattling around in your brain. Why are you announcing this if you don't know where we're going yet? First and foremost, I get that. I want you to be informed. I want you to know that this has not been something that we're doing, just spur of the moment. We've been praying about this. We've been talking about this in our teams for a long time. We've been preparing for a long time. And I want you, when we do have more information, to not be taken off guard, to not be surprised, but rather celebrate and be excited like, yes, this is something we've been working toward. This is healthy. This is good. This is what's next. And I'm so excited that we're finally there. Another question that you might be asking, like I kind of mentioned earlier, do we have a time frame for all this? No. We don't have that answer yet. Obviously, we don't know where we're going, and we definitely don't know when we're going. I do know that currently our lease that we're a part of right now in this facility is up at the end of the year. So we haven't extended beyond that at this point. I would love, and we're working toward, to be able to have a location before that. That's kind of my goal. Now, whether that happens or not, who knows? God's got His hands all over this, so we're going to trust Him with it. But in this time, kind of the goal that we're shooting for is to be somewhere else by the end of the year. We're not going to move out of desperation. We're not going to move just because something opened up and we got to act right now and strike while the iron's hot. We're going to do this out of intention and out of purpose, not desperation, with as much wisdom as we have. Another question that you might be wondering, and you're like, here we go. Is there a financial component to this? Yes, that I do know for certain. Regardless of where we go, regardless of what that circumstance or context is, there's going to be a financial component. There's going to be costs attached. And just so you know, today I'm not asking you to pay anything. I'm not asking you to do that. I am going to ask you to do something, though. To pray about it. To consider what that might look like for you. To talk to your spouse and see where you guys are at together. Is this something that you want to support? Is this something you want to get behind? Is this something that you've been wrestling with for a little while, and this might be the moment to step into? Now, I'll be very just transparent and honest here. I don't love talking about money at church. I don't know if you've picked up on that through the years. I don't talk about it enough. I know that. And for some reason, I have this thing in me that I don't like to go along with stereotypes. And one of the stereotypes at church is, we're going to talk about money. And I hate that. It goes against my grain. However, talking about money is so important. Let's be honest, you guys talk about money all the time. You talk about money with your spouse all the time, almost on the daily, about what you can afford, what you can't afford, what you want to do, what you don't want to do. So there are great reasons to talk about money. And one of those has to be that money is an important aspect of the life of Canyons Church, but even more so, your faith journey. There's an aspect of your faith that is wrapped up in your finances. And if you follow Jesus, if that's the direction that you've decided that Jesus is my king and I'm going to follow him, except for my finances, then that's a problem. That means that you're not fully following him. That means that you're not fully submitted to what you say is your king. To withhold that arena from God is to actually not take a full step in following him. Now, the last thing I want to do this morning is guilt trip you into doing something financially. That's the last thing I want to do. But another last thing that I want to do is to avoid a conversation that is limiting your faith journey and you learning that God is trustworthy. Because that's what it boils down to. We like control. When we like our finances, we like our money, we like to be in control of our things. We feel like that's a security blanket for us. If I have enough, then I feel safe. When we start to give our money away is the opportunity for us to trust God, and we see how trustworthy He is. Look, I let go of it. It's not mine anymore. And lo and behold, God took care of me. Now, I am going to give you some information. This is kind of insider information, but we're going to go there. So this morning, you guys are insiders. I want to give you a snapshot kind of where we're at financially. Just so you know, we're on schedule this year. So we're close to budget. We're going to be just fine. But we're on budget for what we're doing right now. But that's not budgeting for where we will be in the future. Right now, if you have given anything at all, you are in about 40% of our attendees that have given. So there's about 60% of people that would call Canyons Church their home that have not given anything in the last year, 2026. So at least 40% that are paying 100%. In addition to that, if we kind of keep on going down that rabbit trail, our top 15 giving units, so families, households, have given $3,600 or more for the year of 2026. Some of us, that sounds like a large amount of money. Some of us are like, that's it. Like, that's not actually that much. Those top 15 make up 60% of our budget. 60%, well over half by 15 individual giving units. The top 10 is 5,000 or above, and that's 45%. The top 3 giving units, $7,500 or more for the year, which makes up just under 20% of our budget. So I don't know where you're at. I don't know what you've done. To be honest, I don't really care about that much. I care way more about your heart. It's not about the dollars for me. It's about what those dollars represent, because we know what it's attached to. The reason why I'm giving you some of this information is because it means something. First of all, I see it as encouraging. 1, we're on budget. 2, I understand that there's way more room for growth. It's like that we're doing just fine right now, but also there's opportunity out there. If some of us started to engage at a different level than we've been engaging, there's so much room and potential for growth at Canyons Church, so much more than we're already seeing. And it correlates, right? Your generosity correlates with what we're able to do. You know, we would love to do even more so in our community, and it is directly tied to the finances that come in, your generosity. Now, I know you have, this might be a question for you. As a Jesus follower, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? If I follow Jesus, what am I supposed to do? What are you actually asking? What are we actually talking about? Well, just so we're clear, there's a biblical tithe. A tithe is what it's called, is 10% of your income. That's been true for generations and generations, thousands of years. When Jesus was walking and teaching, a tithe was expected to the church at the time. Jesus, what was interesting, there's this moment where Jesus is actually asked about money. People didn't like that Rome was in control. They didn't like paying their taxes to Rome. They're like, what are we supposed to do? Aren't you supposed to rise up, essentially what they're asking? Jesus, aren't you supposed to rise up and throw off the Roman rules so we don't have to pay taxes anymore? And Jesus' response to the financial component of what they were asking is, well, you give to Caesar what's Caesar's, pay your taxes, and give to God what's God's. Do your tithe. Like, engage with what you're supposed to do. If he wanted to change it at that moment, he would have said something in that moment. I've come to set you free from the tithe. That's not what he said. He doubled down. Nope, you know what you're supposed to do, and I'm for it. I'm going to continue to do that. That was what was expected. Now, like I said before, spiritually, I care more about your heart than your dollars, than that number. So did Jesus. That's why he said, wherever your treasure is, there your heart will be also. He understood where you were saving up, what you treasured, whatever that was, that your heart was attached to it. And he's not after your treasure, he's after your heart. The chief competitor for your heart is what you treasure. So, generosity is storing up treasure in God's kingdom rather than our own. You've heard me say this a bunch of times. Be generous somewhere. Be generous somewhere, because that is an intentional decision that I'm not going to allow greed to lead me around and decide where my treasure is. I'm going to decide on purpose that I'm going to give sacrificially to disconnect the treasures I try to store for myself and the treasure for heaven and for God in my relationship with him and the direction that he's trying to move me in. So I do have a follow-up for this, though, that if you go to Canyons Church, if this is your home church, if you're excited about what we're doing, are you supporting us financially? You got to start somewhere. I'm not going to tell you what you have to do. I'm going to encourage you to start somewhere. Decide an amount. Talk to your spouse. Look at your finances. Look at your budget. Figure out what generosity looks like for you. If it's 10%, if it's 5%, take a first step, whatever that looks like. Learn how trustworthy God is. That's actually what is most important in this moment, in this aspect of finances, that we wouldn't cling to those because we think we are in control, but we would be open-handed with them and recognize that God is trustworthy. I get it. Everyone has circumstances. I don't want you living on the street. But what does generosity look like for you? This isn't the moment that I put up the thermometer and we're like, okay, we're going to give here. We might get there at some point. But today I'm just asking, what does that look like for now? What does that look like as you engage with Canyons Church? And what does that look like in your faith journey? Have you engaged in that aspect or not? There's a ripple effect. There are things that are tied to your generosity and what happens here at Canyons Church that are tied to what can happen in our community. Like I say, when you give to Canyons Church, you're giving through us into the LC Valley. And we love the impact because that's drawing people to God. So I am apologizing about how long this has gone. We did have a little bit of a snafu in there. But thank you for coming along the ride with me. I'm going to pray, and then I hope to see you again next week for the next part of this conversation. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for everything that you do for us. God, I thank you that you are constantly working on our behalf. Lord, you know where we're at. You know the circumstances that we have. You know what we're up against. And you're not leaving us. You're not forsaking us. You're calling us forward to trust you even more. And God, I pray that we would take the bold, courageous step to move from being closed-fisted to open-handed. That we would recognize that you've brought things into our life and you've asked us to be a good steward of those things, to build your kingdom rather than ours. So God, I pray that we would take those steps today, that you would give us the boldness, the courage, and ultimately at the end of the day, that we would see how trustworthy you absolutely are. It's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.